Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right, but life still felt heavy? You pray. You believe in God. You try to stay strong. But inside, something feels wrong. Not loud, not obvious, just a quiet weight in your heart. Many Christians are fighting a silent battle, and most of them don't even realize it. It's not always sin. It's not always temptation. Sometimes it's something far more subtle. And today, I want to tell you a story about a man named Daniel, because Daniel almost lost his faith to this hidden battle. Daniel was the kind of man people admired. He wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. But he was known as a good man. Every morning before work, Daniel sat at the small wooden table in his kitchen with a cup of coffee and his Bible open in front of him. The sun would slowly rise through the window as he read quietly. Sometimes he whispered his prayers softly. God, guide me today. Then he would close the Bible, put on his jacket, and head out the door to work. Daniel believed in God with all his heart. At church, he volunteered whenever he could. He helped set up chairs. He greeted people at the door. He prayed with anyone who needed encouragement. People trusted him. If someone was struggling, they would say, "Talk to Daniel. He'll pray with you." But what nobody saw was the war inside Daniel's heart. Daniel's life wasn't falling apart, but it wasn't moving forward either. He had been working the same job for 6 years. The pay was just enough to survive. Every month felt like a race to catch up with bills. Some nights he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how long life would stay like this. Maybe next year things will change, he would tell himself. But year after year, nothing seemed different. Still, Daniel kept believing. He prayed faithfully. God, I trust you. Please open a door. But slowly, something started to change inside him. Not in his behavior, not in his faith, but in his thoughts. At first, it was small. Daniel would scroll through his phone after work and see pictures online. Friends celebrating promotions. Someone buying a new house. Another friend posting photos from a vacation. Smiling faces. Beautiful moments. Perfect lives. At first, Daniel felt happy for them. God is blessing them, he would say. But as time passed, another thought quietly began to appear. A small whisper in his mind. Why not me? Daniel tried to ignore it. He kept praying, but the whisper kept returning. One Sunday after church, Daniel stood in the parking lot talking with a group of friends. They were laughing about life and sharing updates. One friend announced excitedly, "I just got promoted at work." Everyone congratulated him. Another friend said, "My wife and I are buying our first house next month." More cheers. Then someone asked Daniel, "So, Daniel, what's new with you?" Daniel smiled politely. "Oh, same old stuff. Just working." He laughed it off. But inside, something tightened in his chest. That night, Daniel went home and sat alone in his apartment. The room felt unusually quiet. He looked around. Same couch. Same small table. Same bills on the counter. And suddenly, a painful thought appeared again. Everyone else is moving forward. He tried to push the thought away, but it kept growing. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And Daniel noticed something happening inside him. His prayers were changing. They weren't as joyful anymore. They felt heavier. One night, he knelt beside his bed and whispered, "God, I don't understand." His voice trembled. "I'm trying to live right. I'm praying. I'm believing. Why does it feel like everyone else is moving forward except me?" As soon as the words left his mouth, Daniel felt guilty. Christians aren't supposed to question God, right? So he quickly added, "I'm sorry, God. I know you have a plan." But the question still remained in his heart. Why not me? At church, Daniel still smiled. He still encouraged others. He still prayed for people. But inside, a quiet frustration was growing. It didn't happen overnight. It happened slowly, like a small crack in a wall that keeps spreading. Daniel began noticing every success story around him, every blessing someone else received, every opportunity someone else got. And, without realizing it, he started comparing his life to everyone else's. Comparison, the silent battle, the hidden enemy. One evening after a long day at work, Daniel sat in his car outside his apartment. The engine was off. The streetlights glowed softly through the windshield. He didn't feel like going inside. He felt tired. Not just physically tired, soul tired. The kind of tired that sits deep inside your heart. Daniel leaned his head against the steering wheel and closed his eyes. And for the first time in years, tears filled his eyes. "I'm trying, God," he whispered. "I really am." His voice cracked. "I'm praying. I'm believing. I'm doing my best." Tears rolled down his face. But it feels like nothing is changing. The car was silent. The street outside was quiet. And Daniel felt completely alone. For a moment, a dangerous thought entered his mind. What if God forgot about me? The thought scared him, but it was there. Real, heavy, and painful. A few days later, Daniel visited an older member of his church named Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas was a quiet man in his 70s who had walked with God for many years. Daniel often visited him for advice. That afternoon, they sat on the porch drinking tea. Mr. Thomas noticed something was wrong. "You seem troubled," he said gently. Daniel hesitated. Then the words spilled out. "I feel stuck," Daniel admitted. "Everyone around me is moving forward, getting better jobs, buying homes, starting families." He sighed. "But my life feels like it's standing still." Mr. Thomas listened quietly. Then he asked one simple question. "Daniel, who are you comparing your life to?" Daniel blinked. I guess everyone." Mr. Thomas nodded slowly. Then he said something Daniel would never forget. "Comparison is the thief of gratitude." Daniel frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" Mr. Thomas leaned back in his chair. "When you compare your life to others," he explained gently, "you stop seeing the blessings God already gave you." Daniel thought about that. Mr. Thomas continued, "God writes a different story for every person. But comparison tricks us into thinking our story is wrong because it doesn't look like someone else's." Daniel sat quietly. The words sank deep into his heart. That night, Daniel went home and sat alone in his apartment again. But this time, he wasn't scrolling through his phone. He was thinking. He remembered the moments he had been blessed. The job that had helped him survive hard years. The friends who supported him. The health he often took for granted. And suddenly he realized something shocking. God had not abandoned him. God had been walking with him the whole time. But comparison had blinded him to it. The more Daniel compared his life to others, the more miserable he became. It was a battle he didn't even know he was fighting. Daniel knelt beside his bed again that night. But this prayer was different. He didn't ask for success. He didn't ask for promotion. He simply whispered, "God, help me trust your timing." He paused, then added quietly, "Help me stop comparing my life to everyone else." For the first time in months, Daniel felt peace. Not because his circumstances changed overnight, but because his perspective changed. And sometimes that's where the real miracle begins. You see, many Christians are fighting the same hidden battle Daniel faced. Comparison. It whispers lies like, "You're behind. You're not successful enough. God is blessing everyone else but you." But those whispers are not the truth. The truth is this. God is not comparing your life to someone else's timeline. He is writing a unique story for you. Your journey may take longer. Your path may look different. But different does not mean forgotten. And delayed does not mean denied. Daniel's life didn't change instantly, but something inside him did. He stopped measuring his life against everyone else. He stopped chasing someone else's story. And slowly, he began noticing the blessings he had overlooked. Peace returned to his heart. Joy returned to his prayers. Because Daniel finally understood something powerful. God wasn't late. God was working. Step by step. Moment by moment. Writing a story that Daniel could not yet see. And maybe, just maybe, God is doing the same in your life right now. Even if it doesn't look like it yet.